icon like, say, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. He may also aspire to a federal judgeship, and therefore I'm bracing for the worst. I don't know whether that is sending the president to Rikers Island, which is a hellhole, or whether it is home arrest, let's say, at the Trump Tower, and the indignity of wearing an ankle bracelet. This past Sunday, I had Will Scharf on my 77 WABC radio show. He also appeared here at the Stone Zone. I do have a lot of confidence in Mr. Scharf, and I think all the legal options are being examined. Excellent presentation by Mark Levin the other night about how to get this question before the Supreme Court prior to sentencing. This is something that every Trump supporter needs to be praying about. I am praying about it, as is everyone in my family. Pray every day for the president's safety. I pray every day for the president's strength. We are hopeful that the judge will stay any sentence of incarceration, but then that wouldn't be very effective if the goal is election interference. All right. Thank you for your questions. We are out of time. Please ask you to go by rumble.com/Roger Stone, and follow us there for the daily program. But until tomorrow, I'm Roger Stone. This has been the Stone Zone. God bless you and Godspeed.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone. Where's Roger Stone?
All right, everybody, welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. A big day for us today, June 10th, 2024. You're going to want to make sure you write the date down, the day that will live in glory. We are now here, Worldview. We will now be live. We're going to take callers. Worldviewtube.com is where you need to go. This is also going to be on all of my social media platforms as well. The new birth of The Right Side with Doug Billings. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight to kick us off, it couldn't get any better. General Michael Flynn, my good friend, and Eric Trump joining us tonight on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Trump, General Michael Flynn, plus your phone calls tonight. The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey, everybody. My name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right Side with Doug Billings, Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and His divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Hi, everybody. Welcome again to The Right Side with Doug Billings, live with you today. Listen, we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism. That's how we roll. So grateful for the people at worldviewtube.com and the opportunity to be on their programming and to be able to be broadcasting live simultaneously on all of my social media platforms, along with worldviewtube.com and many others. Please check out Spreely TV as well. We're over there. We're going to get right to it today. A big first day here as we begin a new beginning with The Right Side. 4 years ago, we started this program in effort to get the truth out in the wake of COVID and the election and so forth. And you have responded. You have blessed me. And I hope in some small form or fashion, ladies and gentlemen, I have been able to come into your life as you've come into mine to bless you and to give you the truth where you can't find it anymore on the legacy media. And we endeavor, that's our mission here. We have felt, I think I'm not alone. I think many of you out there have felt, as I call it, the tap on the shoulder from God saying, hey, we need you over here now. I know that you were doing other things. You might have been in corporate America. You might have been doing any number of things, but God in his divine providence needed us. And so here we are. And you and I, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, we are in this together. I have on the program tonight two incredible patriots, the first of whom is someone who I have the distinct honor of calling a friend. Some of you, many of you, remember the famous bottle of wine, the episode where I had asked General Flynn if I should surrender the bottle of wine that I gave or that I offered in a bet when President Trump was running for office in 2020. Hold the wine, he said. A play on the words hold the line, and that went viral. Many of you made shirts about that phrase. So here he is, without further ado, a lot to talk about with my friend General Michael Flynn. General?
That's great. That's great. And you know what? On the 6th of November, I'm going to find you, and we're going to crack open that bottle of wine and celebrate.
We're gonna be together. Make sure that let's promise each other in the audience we'll be in the same room somewhere. We'll find each other. We'll broadcast.
Don't you worry. We'll broadcast exactly.
Sitting right back there on the table every day, General. Listen, you and I. And that's a little bit of levity there, but there's so much seriousness behind that bottle of wine. There's so much seriousness behind the line that you created. Hold the line, hold the wine, as you said.
Yep.
We look at the landscape of America and the world. I liken myself to being an optimist, General, and I try to see the bright side. And given everything that's been going on, let's do this. Let's start with you. Let's start with your movie. I was honored to be able to be with you in Branson, Missouri for your tour as we went on. When America sees what this radical left communist socialist government is capable of doing to you, it's when you think about it, when you see your story, if they can do it to someone like you, if they can do this to someone like President Trump, they can do it to anybody. And we can go down the list, Roger Stone, Peter Navarro, etc. They're coming after us. Tell us give us the backdrop about how that has affected your life. Obviously, you're on the road. You're engaging in people in their local levels. You're coming out to meet us. You're trying to inspire us. Tell us about that and how it affected you, what they did to you.
Yeah. So oh my God. Yeah. People need to go to flynnmovie.com and you can stream it. You can buy a DVD. You can do whatever. But streaming is probably the cheapest and the easiest way to watch the movie Flynn, Deliver the Truth, whatever the cost, at flynnmovie.com. It is a inspiring story of survival, and and there are things that I talk about in that movie that I've never talked about before on any shows, Doug, and you know because you took the time to be with us in Branson to watch the premiere that we did in Branson. It is an amazing story of survival. It tells a story of what is happening to our country through the lens of how they persecuted me, they being the deep state, they being the Obama administration, they being members of the Uniparty in Washington, D.C., they being people that also surrounded President Trump while he was campaigning, after he won, and then while he was in office. So there's a combination of people and entities inside of the that we described in the movie that are still, and I lay out names. We talk through who these people are. These are the same people that President Donald J. Trump is still dealing with, the same issues if you understand the the underlying story of what happened to me, then you can understand everything else that we are facing right now as we move forward into the next election in November. I would say, however, though, that one of the things is I've continued to go around the country, and we were blessed to be able to really have just great audiences in the 33 cities that we went to over the months of April and May. Thousands and thousands of people. We were number one on Amazon for 7 weeks in a row. I mean, just incredible response by the American people, as they have always been toward my family and I, because people in the movie, when you see the movie, you'll meet, members of my family. Tucker Carlson is also in it. Devin Nunes is also in it, and other people that I think that the American people need to understand and meet, and they will when they see them. We also talk about the deep state and the judiciary, and the weaponization of the judiciary, and the weaponization of our rule of law system. We lay it out in detail in that movie. So everything that we are facing now, and we will face into the months ahead, were things that my family and I faced during those really crucial years where, and we now know where we were going through Russiagate. We now know that Russiagate was a big lie. We know that COVID was a lie. The impeachments, 2 of them, were both based on lies. The fact that the border security or the border is secure. I mean, our government is going to sit there and how dare they say that our border is secure? That's a lie. Everything that's going on, the classified documents by Joe Biden in his house in Delaware and at the University of Pennsylvania, those are all things that we now know to be true. And in fact, they tried to lie about them. I mean, there's so much egregiousness. I understand that Hunter is in trial this week. They finally picked all the members of the jury, so we'll hear that over the next couple of weeks. We'll see what happens. I would say that we are also facing one of the most difficult national security environments that we have faced probably since, my guess is since the late 1930s, where we then went into World War II, right? We've got the war in Eastern Europe, and we now have naval war vessels, Russian naval war vessels, to include submarines and elements of one of their fleets sitting off of Cuba right now. So that means that they are down within range of the United States of America. Putin said the other day in a speech that he gave that our response will be meaningful and on our terms, and it won't just be against the weapon systems that we've deployed over to Ukraine. We could actually see a Russian response here in the homeland if we're not careful here, folks. NATO is beating the war drums. NATO is supposed to be a defensive capability and not an offensive capability, and they're acting very offensively. We clearly have this massive problem in the Middle East, and the White House, the administration inside of this administration or inside of the White House has reneged on our treaties and our partnerships and alliance with the great state of Israel. I mean, we are moving our country into a place that we have not been in a long time, and we are not ready. Our military is not ready. Our administration is not ready. Our economy is not ready. Our domestic security, our domestic homeland, and the status and strength of our domestic homeland is not ready. I mean, we have massive problems. So why do I find myself, though, today with you feeling optimistic? And I'll tell you why. What I'm seeing going on in the European nations with the corporate media, I call it the corporatocracy in the media, will tell you that these are right-wing, fascists in Europe that are now starting to win the day politically. These are not right-wing fascists. These are conservative-minded. These are people with common sense who now see this overreach, this egregious, illegal immigration that has been going on in Europe now for, the better part of probably 10, maybe 15 years. And Europe cannot handle it any longer. And things are starting to come apart at the seams. So what's happening are the people of Europe are starting to rise to the occasion, just like the people in this country are going to rise to the occasion. Not just in November, but in the coming weeks and months. The American people have had enough, and I'm not talking about right wing that's going to be described in the communist. You like to use the phrase communist socialist there. That's true, very true. This Marxist movement in our country that has taken over the likes of much of our corporate media, to including all the way down into local media. There's a lot of local media that they own, that the Soros and the various organizations that he's a part of have taken over radio shows, have taken over print media in small cities. I mean, in the city that the next city over from us, the main newspaper here is a Soros-owned media outlet, and it gets quite a bit of play here because they own it, and it's one of the only major markets here. So I want people to understand, don't believe the media. Find this station. So hopefully, and I did post this on my X before coming on, so maybe people will jump on and join us, because I know you got some questions that you want to throw at us. I'm optimistic because I've been around this country now 3 times, spoken to a lot of people, and the American people have said enough is enough. We are now activated. We are going to get involved, and we are going to vote Donald Trump back into office. And on the 6th of November, when we wake up, we are going to charge headstrong into restoring American freedom, American patriotism, American greatness, and like we love to say, America first, right? Why not make America great again? Oh my God, because it's definitely right now. Yeah, America is a great nation, but we are weak right now. We are very weak, and the bumper sticker, "Make America Great Again," is exactly what we need to do. So I'll stop there, and maybe I'll throw it back to you if you got any questions or anything.
General, I couldn't agree more. The originators of the term, really, although they didn't use the exact phrase "Make America Great Again," our founding fathers. They're going through this whole thing. They want to make America great. They want to strive for and obtain our independence. We're following through. I think that the conservative movement in America is the only political movement. Now, a lot of people out there on the other side scratching their heads and throwing stones at me, but the conservative movement in America is the only movement politically that aligns with the founding fathers. Clearly, we look at the radical left, evidence of the obvious is sufficient. They're not even a pro-America party anymore, General. I mean, look,
they're anti. These people are anti-American. They do not want this Constitution. They will undermine, and they already have undermined the rule of law. They've weaponized the government. They hate the Constitution, and there are key people. Obama's one of them who hates America. These people are anti-American. One other bumper sticker, too, that we use a lot, America First, right? America First. What's the matter with America First? America First actually comes out of World War I. When America came to the forefront of global leadership after the Great War, right? World War I. That's the first time the America First bumper sticker was used. So I'm glad you raised the idea of Make America Great Again coming out of the founding fathers. Like America First came out of the elevation of America as a great international power after World War I. So all Donald Trump has done is he's grabbed hold of this idea about where America should be, and he's the leader that we need. He's the leader of this time, this moment, and in this period of history. And we are blessed. We're blessed to be able to have him, being at this moment in history, being that leader that this country needs. Other leaders are starting to rise. And other leaders will continue to rise as we move forward. But right now, the leader that we need, who's already proven, and I could be like I say to people, I mean, I could say all kinds of nasty things about Donald Trump because he got rid of me in early days. But I know at the time, I know what was happening, and I saw it. And in hindsight now, with 2020, I clearly know. That's why people need to see that movie, because they'll understand exactly what happened. And right now, in this moment of U.S. history, we need President Donald J. Trump in the White House, back in the White House.
Amen. Amen. We do. General, I have a friend of yours here standing by, the son of the president, Eric Trump, standing by. I would love to bring him on with you if that's okay, and we can talk a little bit and then open it up to a few callers, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Let's bring him on. Eric? There he is.
Pat and the General. We were just in Detroit together a couple days ago with the greatest.
Exactly. What a great event that is. That's the right people, boy. I'll tell you, that Reawaken America event is one of the best, and Doug's been part of that as well for a couple of years. Now the one thing that I would tell you, Eric, and for the this audience, the Reawaken America event, those people initially they were seeking what to do. What do I do? Now, in the last year, as you've seen, Eric, the last year, the Reawaken America crowd are now activated. These are people that are going back to their communities, and they are on the streets, knocking on doors, registering people, running themselves at local level. And it's so refreshing to me every time that I participate in one of those things. So thank you for being part of it.
Eric, I echo everything you said. Go ahead.
I agree with that sentiment completely. I mean, great people, great patriots everywhere we go in the country. Doesn't matter. We've been to Portland. We've been to, I mean, literally everywhere where you name it, we've been there. Some of the deepest blue places in the country where no Republican would ever think to go. And the turnout every single time is, overwhelmingly positive. People who love this country, want to see it saved, want patriotism back. It's awesome.
Guys, I want to chat a little bit with both of you, and eventually, I know time is limited. I'm going to be very sensitive to that. I do want to open it up eventually just for a few callers. We've got some screeners back here at the production facility. But to both of you, I want to ask a question. And Eric, General Flynn and I, before you came on, were talking a little bit about this. So let me begin with you, and I'll ask the same question with some specific twist for General Flynn. We look at this, what has been a raid against your father. And we hear President Trump talking about his definition of success. The other day on Hannity, and he said it before, our definition of success will be when we win and when we make America great again. And I get it. And I agree with that. For both of you, though, there's a huge segment of the American population, I think, who wants to see these people who have persecuted you. Eric, your family, your father, General Flynn, you and your family, there's a swath of America who wants to see, and perhaps even deserve to see, justice be played out. How realistic is it, Eric, and I'll put this to you first, within your family, your discussions with your dad, and perhaps what his next term in office will look like? I know that we want him to be successful and make America great again. Will there be any sense of justice in those terms, going after the people who have just caused tyranny to rain down upon us?
I think some people would call that justice, and I think other people would literally say that's what you need to do to save our democracy. Weed out the evil corruption that exists in our government, and believe me, it's evil corruption, right? I mean, I'm a person who's got 110 subpoenas, never done a damn thing wrong, and they've come after me from every angle, and they've done the same to Flynn, and they've done the same to just about everybody, right? I mean, these are corrupt people. These are people that the day they started the Russia hoax knew that there was no Russia hoax. But yet 3 years later, and tens and tens and tens of thousands of hours and distraction and, people's lives destroyed, they wouldn't mention that. They wouldn't come out and say that. But my father's right at the same time. Listen, the greatest vindication will be success. And it'll be the dichotomy between the worst president this country has ever seen and one of the greatest our country has ever seen. And if you can fix inflation, you can fix the economy, and you can lower gas prices, and you can kick out the bad people, and you can literally stop the crime in our cities that's literally devastating the New Yorks and the Chicagos and Baltimores and Los Angeles and 100 other places. You can fix our cities. You can make us the most sought after place in the world to do business again. You can tariff the hell out of China. You can put them back in their step because they're coming after us, and they're coming after us viciously. You can stop the wars and create peace. You create this dichotomy, between a great president who is Donald Trump, then Joe Biden, who has absolutely destroyed this nation, and another great president. And I really think you'll propel the Republican Party in perpetuity. You'll show people that those policies are the winning policies. They're the right policies, that it's okay to be America first. It's okay to be, the quarterback for your team and not have to put, other countries before you. It's okay to want to win for America and to prioritize our nation ahead of others. And that's what my father wants to do. And last but not least, respect the Constitution, our First Amendment, our freedom of religion, our freedom of speech, our Second Amendment, and, our entire Constitution. Be proud of our nation. Make the American dream possible again. And if you can do that, that's the greatest vindication of all, because you'll have proven them all wrong, and you'll have proven the system as the swamp that it is, And the MAGA movement, the Make America Great Again movement, will be stronger than ever before.
Well said and well met. Look, I think that to a large degree, you look at, and you're right, Roger Stone, Peter Navarro, Steve Bannon, President Trump, the Trump family, General Michael Flynn, the Flynn family. General, let me put the same thing to you, but with a specific caveat. There are a lot of people in the country who are asking President Trump to make you his vice president. Now, you and I are friends, and we're roughly the same age. I will say this out of the context of friendship. I think the vice presidency would be wasted on you. I think you're too important for the vice presidency. And that means no disrespect for that office, nor any disrespect for the people who are in the media and being, rumored to be in consideration for that role. No disrespect. I think what we need is a standard bearer, because we're not just after 2024. I mean, if we're honest, we're after 2028 and 2032 and beyond. What I've said to you before, and I want to say it here, I think that you ought to be the director of accountability, the secretary of accountability, whatever you want to call it. You know where the bodies are. You know where these people are. You've been a victim of what they've done. And to hold the Department of Justice accountable, go after it, to gut it, cleanse it, and purge it. What's your opinion about me saying that?
Well, let me just add a couple of things to everything here that's been said. And I know there's a lot of stuff out there. One of the things that we have to do is we have to get rid of this weaponization of the rule of law in our country. We cannot have two standards of justice, and there might even be three standards of justice. One for the Trump family, and those in his inner circle, and then one for other people in the country that are minorities in a lot of cases that are viciously attacked by our injustice system, and then those people who are part of this weaponized system of government, weaponized system of justice. So that's number one. That has to change. I think one of the things that I know that President Trump, I've heard him speak about this, and he talks about it in different ways, but it's a standard. We have to have one standard for all, right? It's like justice for all. And this gets back to the justice system, but it's everything. It's economically, it's our military, it is our border security. We have to have a standard. Once that standard is set, and frankly, he set a lot of those standards when he was the 45th president. I mean, he set an amazing standard economically. He set an amazing standard for our domestic security. He set an amazing standard for our military, and then of course that leads into our national security overseas. I mean, the way he was able to execute different things while he was the president in the Middle East, in Afghanistan, frankly, even the respect that he gained from people overseas, both in China, in the Asia theater, and also over in the European theaters, specifically with NATO, as you and I were talking about prior to Eric coming on here. So, but I would offer two other things, and they're really something that our founders taught us. Our founders taught us about two things, and I think that we should always remember those two things. One is courage. They were enormously courageous people, men primarily, who stood up for what was right, even when they knew it was going to be filled with, it was going to require great sacrifice. The other thing that they taught us was accountability. Our founders taught us that they were going to hold themselves accountable no matter what. And I mean, they put their lives on the line. And I know, and everybody has heard this before in different ways, where, Donald Trump, before he came down that escalator in 2015, that was a big, big decision to get involved in politics in this country, because he knew how nasty it was. He understood. I'm not sure he completely understood how deep the corruption was in our government, though. It really, really runs very, very deep. And so, there's a guy that stood up for our country. And one of the things that I do know, and this is why I'm sitting here with you talking about this, and one of the reasons why I have constantly stood up for this man is that he loves this country. He absolutely loves it. He loves the idea of our Constitution. He loves the idea of making this country and continuing to make this country great and making it great again, because we are a great country, but we are not great right now. We have severe problems. In fact, we have problems that place this country at grave risk. So that's what I know about Donald Trump. And that's what I know when he wins, when he gets back in, because this is not about if or when, this is about when he is back in office, right? He's already proven once. He's learned a lot. I know he's learned a lot. Eric knows he's learned a lot. All of us know. We've all learned a lot. This country has learned a lot about just how ugly our system of the bureaucracy is in our government. This weaponized, and it's not just weaponized in the Department of Justice. It's weaponized in the intelligence community. It's even weaponized inside of our military to a degree that we're learning. So all those things have to be recorrected, and that can be done with the real strong leadership, proven leadership that Trump has already done. And that's why we've got to activate as many Americans as we can over the airwaves with getting in out around this country, like we've been doing with this Reawaken America event, like Trump does with his rallies, Eric does with his engagements, and I know members of his family who are out there fighting. We've got to continue to activate the American people and get them out there, to engage inside of their communities and get more and more people. I mean, look, the minorities in this country, the Black community, the Hispanic community, oh my God, they're coming in droves over to the conservative movement of this country. They are coming in droves. I think we're going to see historic numbers in the minority communities. And that also includes, I'd add, before I shut up here, I'd add that includes the Asian American communities and even the European communities that are, like I've come to know the Serbian community in this country. There's over 2 million of them that vote. And believe me, when we roll into November here, we're going to see all kinds of different communities of color, so to speak. I hate to use that, but these various diverse communities in this country, they're going to be jumping on board the America First, mega train, the Trump train, and I think we're going to see an extraordinary victory, unprecedented in our nation's history here in November.
Couldn't agree more with you, General. And to add on to that, they've made President Trump a political martyr with the kangaroo court, what we've seen, the bogus, all of it. And I think that it's going to play, Eric, into your family's favor and into the hands of the president. Now, we've got some callers that are calling in. I want to also say this, that along with all of those demographics that you've mentioned, General, I think an exciting demographic that often goes unnoticed, and clearly the legacy media won't mention them, is the Generation Z demographic. They're coming over, believe it or not, these younger folks are coming over in huge numbers. Even Newsweek did an article a few weeks ago about this. So I think because of the nightmare being so bad that this commune socialist party has thrust upon us, that many, many, many people are waking up. Before we go to the callers, Eric, what if, and anybody, it's no telling what this radicalized judge will do in New York. And I just have to ask, what if they put your dad in jail? What happens next? How will your family, how have you been talking about this and dealing and planning for it?
Listen, nothing would put it past this guy. I sat in that courtroom and I've never seen corruption like this in my life. And I'm not, I think, the general certainly knows this about me. And I think, Doug, you know this about me. I'm not a tinfoil hat wearing guy. I'm a realist to life. I'm pretty sensible. I'm pretty pragmatic. I can call balls and strikes fairly well at this point in my life. And I come out of the real world, which is a business world, where you need to do that. And when I see witnesses getting thrown off, when I see witnesses being treated like absolute trash, when I see every single objection that the government made being, sustained by this judge, and not a single objection that we made, it was 999 to 1. This lopsided court, a judge's daughter who's reportedly making millions of dollars. She's the largest, apparently, digital advertiser for the Democratic Party. And this is judge's daughter who's making a ton of money on all of this. I have no faith in the system. I have no faith in New York. I have no faith in the system. It's the same judge that gets picked for every single Trump case. Got picked for Alan Weissenberg, got picked for Steve Bannon, then got picked for Donald Trump. You know how impossible that is? There's so many judges on the bench in New York, and this guy just happens to get every single one of them. It defies statistics. You'd have to be an idiot to believe that was actually the case. They're spoon-feeding this guy these cases because of who he is and what he's willing to do. So I put nothing past this guy. I would be foolish if I did. I would have never, going back 8 years, thought that the FBI was going to do what it did and the DOJ was going to do what it did, and that they were going to spy on my father's campaign, and that they were going to allow dirty dossiers. And I would have never thought that my father could have been impeached the first time for nothing, and impeached the second time for nothing. But you know, what happens, guys, is there's something called, I always call it the law of, you know, unintended consequences. I talk about this all the time. Every single time they do something that they think will help their cause, it backfires because this entire country reads through this nonsense. It's one thing to cry wolf once, and then you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and people stop believing you. The American public has stopped believing this sham. They know exactly what's happening. And I think one of the most fascinating things could be to see what happens with Hunter Biden, a guy who has, you know, unthinkable things on his laptop, things I couldn't even comprehend on my laptop, right? But, you know, unthinkable things on his laptop. And, you know, who knows? I think there's a damn good chance that it's a hung jury or he's found totally not guilty. And so I wouldn't put anything past the system anymore because, and again, I'm not a conspiracy guy at all. But I've just seen the worst of what the weaponization that the general was just talking about can do. They've weaponized every aspect of our system against Donald J. Trump because they don't think they can win. They don't have the energy. They don't have the momentum. People aren't excited about Biden. He can't walk onto a plane without falling over. He can't get through a sentence without stumbling. And so, you know, could the judge put him in jail? Sure. Would it be totally unprecedented? Of course. Did my father do anything wrong? No. This whole thing is insane. No one believes that Alvin Bragg, a guy who has decriminalized everything in New York, went after a former president 8 years later for $130,000, right? That he paid to a lawyer for a legal expense while women are getting pushed in front of subways in New York. No one believes it. Not a single New Yorker believes it. At the same time that Alvin Bragg was in that courtroom, there was a guy in a McDonald's in Times Square slashing people with a machete. But yet his entire office and the best prosecutors are all focused on Donald Trump. The number 3 at the DOJ left the DOJ, took a massive demotion to come to New York to focus on what? One thing, and that's all things Donald Trump. People don't believe it. You know, so in the light of that corruption, can I see them doing something foolish? Yes. But you know what? Every single time they do, when my father was found guilty of 34 charges for nothing, you know, guess what happened? He raised $300 million in the next, 72 hours or next 4 or 5 days. $300 million. That's more money, guys, than we raised in 2016 in total. People absolutely lashed out at the system. If they put him in jail, believe me, the reaction would be 10 times that. They would walk him into White House. I truly, truly believe that. But these people are sick, guys. Don't put anything past these people. I've learned not to underestimate their hatred and their animosity. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see if the judge is sensible. And all the while, believe me, we're going to appeal it to the highest court in the land, and we're going to win this thing. And we're going to win the other case.
Yep. All of these kooks out there enjoying their 15 minutes of a fake sham trial, the felon president, it's all going to be overturned. Now, I know time is limited. I want to be respectful. And you're right about Biden too, Eric. The other day, D-Day, he gave a new whole definition to D-Day. He's Diaper Day. I mean, did you see the emergency bowel episode that he had on stage? I mean, it's incredible. And the guy can't put 2 sentences together, much less sit down without having an accident.
They're on the 75th anniversary of D-Day. We flew on Marine One. We landed right there at the cemetery. It was one of the most moving experiences of my life. Every single one of those veterans, the respect that they had for Donald Trump, they loved the man. Loved the man. There were guys who couldn't stand up based on their age and their ailments. You know, the greatest heroes that we have in this country, and they would fight with every ounce of energy to get out of their wheelchair to salute him. I saw it with my own eyes. You did not have that reaction to Joe Biden. I mean, I watched that ceremony, and I can tell you the difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, the eyes of those vets, was incredibly telling. And I think there's probably no one who can speak to that better than General.
Yeah. I mean, you know what?
Yep.
Go ahead, Doug. I was just going to say that we have a leader in Trump. That's what people see. That's what veterans see. That's what our military sees. That's what the world sees. And right now, we don't have that in the White House. God help us right now. I mean, God help us. And that's why people are resonating. That's why $300 million is an extraordinary amount of money. And, you know, it's more than the money. It's actually the sentiment of love that the American people have for this man, because they know he's being persecuted. Everybody can see it. And no matter what they do, no matter what this crazy judge decides to do, that love is only going to grow stronger.
Amen. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, 901-316-8404, 901-316-8404. We've only got time for one or two calls with both of these gentlemen here together. So we do have one call. I believe he wants to speak with Eric and the General. Zeke Montana from Kansas City. Zeke, you're on the right side with Doug Billings, General Flynn, and Eric Trump.
Well, Doug, thank you so much for taking my call, and I got to tell you how great it is to hear you on worldviewtube.com, because you are the closest thing to a Rush Limbaugh we have. So thank you for what you do for us.
There'll never be another Rush. You honor me, though. You honor me. Thank you.
I do have a couple of questions. First, for General Flynn. General, with the election coming up, and we all hope that President Trump retakes the White House, but how are we doing with the election fraud, especially in the swing states that are going to be so important? Are we going to be assured a fair election in those states?
Well, I would say that's a really hard question to answer. I mean, are we going to be assured that there's no fraud? No, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that. Are there an extraordinary number of people and groups that are now working to overcome that? Yes. I mean, we have everything from the audit, the vote, the crowd. I know Eric can probably talk to how hard his wife is working right now, Laura, to get the GOP and the RNC engaged with grassroots organizations and state level groups that are doing everything. I mean, I've been deeply involved in the precinct strategy across the nation. We've been very involved in canvassing in at least 100 of the counties. I mean, there are all kinds of efforts. There's all kinds of actions still ongoing in courts too that I don't want to dismiss or not address. But there's so many more people now that are engaged because of what happened in 2020, and we are not going to allow that to happen again. We're just not. And people are going to, and I know that they are stepping up. In terms of what the actual various strategies are, or what the RNC is, maybe Eric can talk to that a little bit. But I know from the efforts that I've been personally involved in or supported that there are, times 10 the number of organizations and groups that are now working at the grassroots levels to ensure that we have a free and fair vote. The main thing is understand in your various state whether you've got mail-in ballots or not, when did they start, and also on voting day as well. The bottom line is people have got to vote.
All right, Zeke, Eric Trump has to run pretty soon, and the General has to take off as well. Real quickly, we have about 1 minute left. Your question for Eric Trump.
Eric, thank you for taking my question. RFK Jr., do you think his involvement in this election, do you think it will benefit your dad or benefit the Democrats more with him on the ticket, on the ballot?
Well, listen, voting right now is definitely split on this, Zeke, and thanks for the question. By the way, I could go on for an hour about your last question just based on the fact that the person who sleeps in the bed next to me every single night, she goes to bed on phone calls about election integrity, and she wakes up about talking about election integrity. I can tell you when she went into the RNC and fired 3/4 of the people there, her three real goals were, not to waste a single penny. There are no flowers being bought at the RNC. There's no nonsense. There's no false expenditures. And obviously have, pure Trump people who care about the party and want to see Republicans win and really care about Donald Trump. That's 2. And obviously, voter integrity is number 3. And I can tell you, they work 24 hours, 7 days a week. They're at 80 lawsuits in various states, purging voter rolls and everything else. And so know that they are on it. Don't get me wrong. They're going to cheat because that's what they do. And I think, the worse you see his polls going, I think the more that they have to cheat. Otherwise, they're just going to get blown out of the water. Right. And so I think our success today, at least in the polls, probably has them scratching their head, coming up with some creative ideas. They came up with the Russia hoax. They came up with a lot of different cheating methodology. And I fully believe that they're going to do it again. It's just we have to stop them at every single turn. And believe me, there are really good people working on that every single day. In terms of RFK, he pretends to be somebody he's not. The reality is he is far, far, far left. But he tries to play into kind of the centrist wing. And I just don't think people can, believe him. I mean, look at his stance on guns. Look at his stance on so many different things. It's frankly, they're borderline crazy, but yet, oftentimes you'll see him in an interview and he comes off as a centrist. And, he's actually very far from a centrist. He's much more on the other side. I mean, he is about as liberal as it comes. And so the only thing I hope people don't get caught up in that charade, because I think they'll be pleasantly or not pleasantly surprised when, if God forbid he ever got in, which he won't. I mean, he's polling at 4%, 5%, but he certainly carries himself as something he's not. He's incredibly liberal. He's incredibly far left. And, many things he speaks to just don't match his background at all.
Eric, thank you very much. And I know that you've got to run. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. I know, look, you've got 1,000,001 different things going on, not only with you running your business, but with what's going on with your family and the nonsense that's facing you. I don't take that lightly. You honor us, and I appreciate you very much. Thanks for taking the time.
Hey, Doug, it's great honor, and great honor to be here with the General as well. You guys are both amazing, and can't wait to be back soon.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, General, if you have time, do you have time for one more caller, General?
I can take one more. One
more. Yeah, we got one more. It happens to be a mutual friend, Alex Stone. I believe you know this young man. Mm-hmm. He's on Alex, welcome. You're in the great state of Missouri. What's your question for the General?
Doug, thank you so much for taking my call. General Flynn, you said something a little bit ago. You said we've got to activate as many people as possible. I know you and I have talked about this, together, about Operation Z that we were working on a little bit together. But how do we mobilize and activate Generation Z? Because Generation Z is the one of the most important voting groups that we have coming up in this next election. And the liberals have done a great job, but it seems as if conservatives have not. What is your take on that? How do we activate as many Generation Zers as possible before this next election?
Yeah, great question. And thanks for all that you're doing to be part of that effort to get younger people involved. I think, number one, we have to recognize those young people that are involved out there that have big platforms. You're one of them. I also think, and one of the things that I've learned, and I have embraced these guys, and I love them, because I'm a big fan of music anyway. But rap is the number one genre right now in the country, and with different rap artists. And I do think that the rap artists, we had at the Reawaken event this weekend, we had Forgiato Blow, we had the Latinos for Trump, and there are some others within the various different communities that have really broken out into the world of the America First crowd. And there's some great music, because I do think music can set the stage for culture. But I do think the more that we can embrace these young people that have large platforms and get them out there talking to each other. I mean, I do think that, I think Charlie Kirk's organization does a lot of good with some of the college-age kids, and the focus that Turning Point does. But there's different groups. The Smith brothers, Titus and Isaac. Those are two people who also have a big platform. They reach about 2 million on a monthly basis. I mean, there are young people who are conservatives, who have voices, and who are pushing their various communities and their audiences to reconsider everything that's going on. And from my perspective, I mean, you just heard from Eric Trump what he was talking about. I mean, Eric, he's a relatively young guy. I mean, I think he's 40 now. Gen Z is that sort of age bracket between, let's say, 18 or 20 and 30, right? That sort of block of people. I do think that there are enough people out there that see what is happening, particularly with the economic conditions. The weaker this economy is, the more that young people are going to go, oh my God, I'm trying to break out and have my own, I'm trying to live on my own here, and I'm not able to do it with the type of policies. And frankly, the other thing that I want young people to worry about, and I do want them to worry about this, these people that are in power right now, they want to take us to war. And that's not just those in the White House. It's the Uniparty in Washington, D.C. And that's one of the things that I do talk about in my movie, is this idea of endless wars and how we need to get great leaders and great leadership back in charge of our country, so we actually have a president who fights for peace. That's what Donald J. Trump did. He fought for peace. He didn't fight to start another war, which is what Biden has done and all previous presidents to Donald J. Trump did in my lifetime. Every time we got a new president, as a military guy, I found myself in a new war. And, you know, and in my 20s, I was involved in 3. So I want people who are young to understand that there is a consequence to poor leadership in the White House. So I think you ought to vote for a president who's fighting for peace.
Thank you, General. And Alex, thank you for your phone call. Appreciate it very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you can still call in 901-316-8404. It's time to say goodbye to General Flynn, however. General, you are a friend. That bottle of wine is here. We will get together, all right?
God bless you, and thank you for your great audience, too. God bless, Doug. See ya.
You bet. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining us here. We're not done yet. I'm going to be back. We're going to take a short break, and I'll be back where I am dispensing the most intellectually mature material that you will ever see. And you, as a result, become the most intellectually mature members of Podcast Land. I'll be right back. Stay with me. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, well, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or a loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHouseBG.com.
Well, how about that, ladies and gentlemen? General Flynn, Eric Trump with you all for your questions, and I appreciate the phone calls. I know there's never seems to be enough time in the day. We've got the phone lines open, 901-316-8404. You can see it on the bottom of the screen there as we're broadcasting on almost all of my social media platforms, and worldviewtube.com, ladies and gentlemen. So we've got some other callers. We've got people coming in. I want to give them a chance to talk. You know, the thing about what we just heard, with regards to Eric and General Flynn, as they give the assessment of President Trump and what the country feels about him. You look at what he experienced just the last weekend or the weekend before last. Right after the verdict was issued from New York, he goes to the UFC fight, and they give him a hero's welcome, standing ovations, walking down the hall. Take a look at this clip of Trump walking into that fight for a taste of what they think about him. See what I mean? And you look at that crowd, ladies and gentlemen, to the point that General Flynn and Eric Trump were making earlier on the program, the demographics, the people that are migrating towards President Trump. That's not scientific. It's a crowd shot of a UFC event. I understand that. But look at that. Generation Z, young people, black people, brown people, white people, men, women. They love the guy. And when you look at the country, aside from what the legacy media is showing you, because we all know they don't show us the truth. They can't dare let this get out. They can't dare to begin to talk about it. I'm telling you, because of the strategy of the radical left, this lawfare You see people like James Carville having absolute meltdowns on his social media platforms because he understands that the strategy is not working. Bill Maher even is now claiming that there's no way that the Democrats are going to win because of this failed strategy of lawfare. And the good news for us is that throughout the streets in the country of this republic, John and Jane Doe, who may have voted for Administrator Biden, may have voted for him, and I never call him president. For all of you who don't know me yet, never refer to Biden as president. Administrator Biden and this nightmare that they've cascaded down upon us is purposeful. We could talk about the border. We could talk about inflation. We could talk about the debacle in Ukraine. We could talk about Israel and the absolute lack of respect that the Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, is giving our most strategically and beneficial, our best ally in the Middle East, in the world perhaps. So you see this reawakening of people precisely because of the nightmare that the radical left now has cast down upon us. And we're waking up. And if they do put President Trump in jail, we need 1 million or more people to show up peacefully in New York City, because we are not the political party that when things don't go our way, we don't have pallets of bricks, rocks, and stones delivered to street corners so that we can conduct riots, arson, and anarchy. Our side doesn't do that. So we will peacefully gather, and we will peacefully voice our opinions. We have some calls coming in. Looks like Mark from Wisconsin. Mark, welcome to the right side.
Hey, Doug, I think you and your previous guest gave a free pass on that question about RFK Jr. I'm 42, and I like the guy. I live in Wisconsin, and you're going to tell me that you don't think a third party is going to impact the electoral count in Wisconsin between this Biden guy who's a piece of work and Trump? So give me a real answer on RFK Jr. I mean, he talks about wealth transfer. He talks about COVID. He said, I would have never shut down the government. And so do you really think he's just at 4 or 5%? So what do you I think he gave him a free pass.
Yeah, I think, and I appreciate the call, Mark. The time is sometimes limiting, and so we can't give full answers and complete ones. But I hear you, and so let me give you my take on RFK. I think he will hurt Biden more than he hurts Trump. Why is that? When you look at the policies, the platform, and the politics of RFK Jr., when you get to the core of it, he is, and Eric Trump alluded to this, he is a hardcore radical left communist socialist. There's no escaping it. There is no moderation in his approach, especially to abortion, late-term abortion. His choice for vice presidency categorically ended any chance of any rational thinking, any intellectually mature conservative and independent, for that matter, to consider him. You have, and I know I've got friends who once upon a time supported President Trump who like RFK Jr. because they blame the COVID nonsense on Trump and the lockdowns and the shutdowns. And I'll just go down this road with you here, Mark. The President Trump and the dawning of COVID, and the dawning of COVID is the reason I started my show. I was in corporate America working in human resources for a major medical company, in fact, the largest owner-operator of hospitals in the world. And the panic that set forth and the lies and the misinformation that was put forth and upon us from experts in the field, and we see Fauci answering questions before the Congress the other day, and that accountability is yet to be played out in full as well. But a lot of people liked RFK because he speaks about the vaccines, and we need to talk about the vaccines and their dangers. And I agree with RFK on that matter. But when it comes to true conservative, life-affirming matters of politics, platforms, and policies, RFK can't make it. And so independents are going towards Trump because of the nightmare that Administrator Biden has cast upon us. And it's as if that issue alone is the driving force. The lawfare, also part of it, but RFK, no conservative, I'll put it this way. Independents, he might gleam a few away from those who may have been considering President Trump, but no conservative, at least no conservative with any conscience, can throw their support towards RFK Jr. Does that get to more specific for you? Does that get to the core of what you're trying to get across? Oh, he dropped. All right. Well, Mark, I hope that gets to more specificity about what you meant. I have a book, It's called Remaking the American Political System. We talk a little bit about RFK. I wrote that book with my friend Mike Beeler, and you can get it on Amazon.com. The thing is, I think, RFK, no one in the party, no one, and certainly in his own family, they're not going to support him because they view his views about what he will do to the Democrat Party as dangerous. But and I've said this before, the Democrat Party, ladies and gentlemen, the Democrat Party does not exist anymore. The Democratic Party of John F. Kennedy Jr. is gone. I mean, for goodness sakes, the Democratic Party of Bill Clinton doesn't exist anymore. Does not exist. You have President Obama, who was the first one to say out loud, we have to fundamentally transform America. Imagine that. Fundamentally transform a republic that was inspired by God. Now, the radical left, that's like garlic or a crucifix if you're a vampire, right? The radical left can't stand to hear that the divine providence of God was stirring and founded and inspired 56 men to sign our Declaration of Independence and our founding documents inspired by God and written by men. The radical left have excommunicated God from our republic. And so we have this reawakening to these things, to the radical left nightmare. RFK Jr. is a remnant of that. Obama says we've got to fundamentally transform America. Imagine that. Fundamentally transform it away from what? The divine inspiration of God himself and the genius of the founding fathers? Think about that, even if you are someone who voted for Administrator Biden. I have Christian friends, and one of them in particular, Father James Altman, said quite passionately, and I tend to agree with him, you cannot be a Democrat and be a Christian. The Democratic platform cannot align with and does not align with Christianity. 901-316-8404, ladies and gentlemen, 901-316-8404. If you want to be part of the program, please call in. Call in and let me know what you think about this or any of the topics we've been talking about today. I do also want to remind you, if the Bidenomic economy has thrust you into economic hardship, I do have a way where you can make a little extra money if you want to, turn it into a career. If you have it all, an entrepreneurial spirit, liveyounger.with Doug.us. liveyounger.with Doug.us. Check it out over there. It's just a simple form, and you fill it out, and we'll send you information about not only some incredible products that will reactivate your own body's stem cells, but give you an avenue to make extra money. If there's anybody out there who can use an extra $500 a month, liveyounger.with Doug.us is the place where you can find a way to do it. liveyounger.with Doug.us. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with me. A very short break, and I'll be right back. Cheers.
I'm excited to announce we're having a huge MyPillow spring sale, and here's a few examples. Buy one of our MyPillow 2.0s, you get another MyPillow 2.0 absolutely free. Made with cooling technology, the best pillow ever just got even better. And this just in, 9 brand new colors and styles of our Percale bed sheets. They're made with the finest long staple cotton, and now you can save 50% or more. That's as low as $24.98. And for the first time this year, I'm bringing you our My Slippers and Sandals for as low as $25 a pair. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your MyPillow 2.0s. Buy one, get one free. Percale sheets as low as $24.98. My Slippers and Sandals as low as $25 a pair. And for a limited time, when you order $75 or more, your entire order ships absolutely free.
Hello, I'm Brandon House, and I want to tell you about Numi. This is a swish. You just take 2 capfuls, swish it around your mouth for 3 to 4 minutes, and you're absorbing, according to the studies, glutathione. Now, you don't need to take my word for it. There are over 162,000 studies on PubMed on the power of glutathione. It is a powerful molecule that studies show detoxes our cells. Some studies even show that glutathione might remove mercury from our brains, help to prevent things like Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. Now look, I'm not making claims. I'm just telling you what the research is showing about the powerful molecule glutathione. Numi is the product that contains glutathione. Melissa and I swish with this twice a day. We urge you to go to Neumi.com/House1. That's Neumi, Neumi.com/HOWSE and the numeral 1. Begin finding out about the power of glutathione while also supporting this broadcast network. Thank you.
All right, everybody, welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we meet always over here in determined prayer and determined patriotism. So we showed you the clip of President Trump at the UFC fight a couple of weekends ago. And we know, first of all, Administrator Biden couldn't draw 300 people if his life depended on it. In fact, you look at the crowd that Trump had. Remember the crowd he had on the boardwalk out there in New Jersey? What was it, 104,000 or some odd people out there? I mean, that's more people than Administrator Biden has ever gathered together in his entire life. And President Trump can do it on a weekend. So, and I know that we saw it in 2020, and they still stole, the election, and there are fraud issues and so forth. But that evidence of those crowds, and especially the makeup of the crowds, the demographics, the young, the old, the black, the white, the brown, the Asian, Latinos, Hispanics, etc., it's all evidence that we see throughout the republic, and that scares the abject heck out of the radical liberal left. The liberal communist socialist party, formerly known as Democrat Party, can't produce that kind of evidence. They can't show us a crowd that's that diverse and of that size. There's no evidence whatsoever that Administrator Biden can draw a crowd over 200 people, and even that is a stretch. That's a gift by me saying you can't draw anything over 200. He probably can't even get 20. But they just don't have it. Now, we need to be diligent. We can't become complacent. We cannot draw back, recoil, and say he's got this in the bag. You've got to get involved. You've got to continue to get involved in your local levels. And I think that what we have done is admirable, but there's more to do here. The radical left, this didn't just happen in 2020 with the possible theft, the probable theft of an American presidential election. They've been at this, the radical left, for 127 years, since about 1896. The three guys that really, who were wealthy men, who were all avowed socialists, who began to use their wealth to coerce the educational institutions in this republic. John Rockefeller, John Dewey, Andrew Carnegie, they all pooled their money. All of them, not just my opinion, a matter of record, all of them were avowed socialists. And they would go to the American university systems and say, and when have you ever noticed an educational system that doesn't want money? They say, we'll give you the money, but you have to adopt our curriculum and our philosophies and so forth. And they began to take over. And people, radical left-minded people, began to get involved in their local levels, in their counties, within the states they live. School boards, county commissions, and so forth, sheriffs, aldermen, mayor, state senate, state Congress. And we, if we're honest with ourselves as conservatives, did not do that. We didn't do it. Not to the effect that they did. But now we're awakening. We're awakening. The divine providence of God is indeed stirring within this republic, and I think that we're on the cusp of the greatest reawakening to the divine providence of God that this republic has ever seen. And I count that even among and since the time of the founding fathers. I think you all are waking up in great numbers, and you're helping to reclaim the republic. I read an article just a few weeks ago. In 2022, 14 states, because of patriotic American citizens getting involved in their school boards, 14 states outlawed critical race theory as part of their curriculums in public schools. Now, that's a victory, and I'm going to take it. And I'm not suggesting that because the radical liberal left got started doing this 126 years ago, I'm not suggesting that it's going to take us 126 years ago to get over this. First of all, a couple of things. Have you noticed conservatives are better looking than liberals? It's true. I verified, believe me, I verified it. You can line up a room full. You can give me a lineup of people. I can point out the liberals and I can point out the conservatives 9 times out of 10. There's this aura about them. And now the radical liberals will take that and run with it and say, Billings is prejudice. You just call liberals ugly. What I'm saying is conservatives have a healthier, more beautiful, wonder-filled, and joy-filled outlook on life than do liberals. You can tell they have a horrible disposition, liberals. First of all, when things don't go their way, they react. And I commented a bit about this earlier in the previous segment. When things don't go our way as conservatives, we understand that there's blessings that reside in overcoming adversity, challenge, and tragedy. We understand that we have to grow through and get through the adversities, the challenges, and the tragedies. And it's not always easy. In fact, it rarely is. But when things don't go the liberals' way, they have mental breakdowns and meltdowns. They can't handle it when things don't go their way. And so they resort to what we saw in the media, especially after 2016 when Trump was elected. Remember, the resist movement was born. We see it today, the violence, the bad attitude, the excommunication of God. Ladies and gentlemen, you are the remnant. You are the ones who are going to rediscover and reinvigorate the divine providence of God. It is happening already. I'm telling you, I see it. That does not mean we're not out of this night. We're not out of the nightmare. You know, there's good news and bad news. The good news about nightmares is that every time, 100%, everybody always wakes up from a nightmare. And that's what we are in now. What we have to be careful about is immigration. Now, anybody who's ever been to Europe, Spain, Italy, France, Germany, and the UK, you know, there's elections going on over there now. I don't know if you've been paying attention. A lot of those countries have very little self-identity left, very little nationalism left because of the radical influx of illegal migration, sometimes legal immigration even. They just opened up their borders to everybody. And a lot of it is, I'm going to say it, is heavily influenced by the Muslim immigrants that are coming in. And we're beginning to see it happen in America. Look, it's no secret. I've said this from day one. As soon as Biden took office and began to repeal and reverse all of the border securities that President Trump had put in place, they want these illegals coming over the border to be their new, or at least a big part of, their electoral base. There's no question about it. No one with any shred of intellectual maturity can deny that. Here's a box of ballots. Take it and give it to the guy in the white van over there. And for that kind gesture, we're going to give you free health care. We're going to give you free education, free housing. Don't worry, it's all on us. Thank you very much. Come on in. We can go on and on about the purposeful, chaotic nightmare that has been purposely thrust upon us. But it does us good now to take a look at what that cascade of chaos has done, waking people up. And President Trump stands there with us. They're going after him because he's supporting us. Ladies and gentlemen, more money. Last report, almost 400, probably over by now, over $400 million since the verdicts have come down out of New York. 400 million. And more people coming over to our side because of that nonsense. Also, big donors, big-time liberal donors coming over to President Trump. Miriam Adelson, a Jewish billionaire and supporter of Israel, pledging $100 million to President Trump. Wall Street billionaires flocking to President Trump. Why? Because Administrator Biden is destroying Wall Street. He's destroying the economy. And billionaires from both parties, quietly, subtly, without any fanfare, coming over to President Trump. All because of what's going on and what came down out of the kangaroo court in New York. It really was the straw in many ways that broke the camel's back. Now, the left is going to act as if somehow we don't like the rich. We don't want the rich. We're the party of the poor. Nonsense. BS. Look at the clown they had speak out on the streets in front of the court. Robert the Clown De Niro out there. George Clooney coming out today saying, I'm going to support Trump. We're going to have, it's the usual celebrity class coming out. Nothing to worry about there. The left worships those people. They put them out there for speaking, for talking heads, for making points about the same old things. Trump, the felon Trump. Let them enjoy their 15 minutes of fame regarding all of that. I'm telling you right now that felony convictions against President Trump are temporary. Every one of them that he may face will be overturned. I'm up against a break, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, call us, please. The phone number, 901 on the bottom of the screen, 901-316-8404, 901-316-8404. Be part of the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast land. I'll be right back. Cheers.
We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com.
TWC.health/Brandon. This is one of our sponsors, has been now for a few years. Here it is. You just go there. If you use that URL, folks, you not only save money, but our program gets credit, which helps us keep doing great shows like this for free and pushing them out. TWC.health/Brandon. Look up here at the top of the page where it says Med Kits. Go down there to the one that says Contagion Emergency Kit. Contagion Emergency Kit. That's the one you want, right, Dr. McCullough?
Right. That's going to cover bird flu. Just you start on day one. I think all the animal workers, people in rural areas need to have these. You can't wait around for the pharmacist. If you start early, that comes with telemedicine. We can intensify the antivirals, get other drugs going. Very affordable. Join through Brandon's website. Join as a member because we're working on ways to replace the used drugs, and you have to be a member to get that advantage.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we provide you evidence. It's obvious. Liberals, yeah, intellectually immature. You can believe it. Count on it. Hey, listen, the good news out there, I want to make sure that we don't get all muddled down. There's a lot of hard work to do. Absolutely so. The local level involvement that I see, and in my neck of the woods, we have primary season upon us, August 6th for a lot of people throughout the country. There were some last week. I see people rising up. I see people taking seats on school boards. I see them taking seats on county commissions and running for sheriff and so forth. And a lot of them have become friends. This is what I would encourage you to do. And I understand, look, nobody wants to go to a school board meeting after coming home from work and sitting there for 3 hours listening to the bantering going back and forth on a school board meeting. I get it. But look, that's what we call determined patriotism. That's the hard work of it all. We also have to do more work with regards to election day, not election month, not election week. And I know a lot of you conservatives out there, you vote early. We've got to stop doing that, my friends. We've got to stop it. It's become a convenience. And, I'm not convinced that voting should be necessarily convenient. We will always make it convenient for the military and for those that are disabled. Don't get me wrong, but for you and I, for people who can go stand for a few hours in line to vote on a presidential election day or any other election day. Oh, but Doug, I don't want to wait 3 hours. Are you kidding me? I might have to wait 4 hours in line. Maybe I'll have to wait 1 hour in line. Doug, and all of a sudden we begin to hear kind of this reminiscent of the snowflake attitude. They don't want to do the hard work. They just want the easy return, right? They just want the victory. They don't want to do the hard work. We show up on election day. We flood the system. It makes it more difficult for anybody who would be so inclined to cheat. We show up on election day. And let me remind you, because I see this when I go around the country, Clay Clark, bless his heart, and God bless him and his family. The Reawaken America Tour, part of that thing since the very beginning. God bless him. And part of that when I have my own determined patriotism events as well. I get to meet people in various states, various cities, various counties throughout America. And inevitably, there are some who are tempted to complain that, and I understand, I don't want to stand in line, Doug, not for 3 hours. Come on, it's convenient. I can just go to the local county election office and I can vote early. Or, and this is even worse, there are people out there who still are ranting and raving, fix 2020 or bust and all of that. Okay, I get it. 2020 is a problem. We got to still fix it. But you know what? We're conservatives. Not only are we better looking than liberals, we're smarter than liberals. And we can figure 2020 out and how to remedy the problem, at the same time still participating in the election cycle of 2024. We don't simply say, I'm not going to vote. It's a rigged system. Don't do it. I'm not going to do it. That is not a conservative. That's a snowflake. That's a weak individual saying that. We are stronger than that. We understand that we are in a time of nightmare, adversity, challenge, tragedy. We get it. We understand. But we work our way through it precisely because we see blessing on the other side. And we understand right now we're on the cusp of incredible blessing in this country precisely because of the chaos, the tragedy, the adversity, and the challenges that the radical left have thrust upon us. We get it, and we know it, and we will overcome. We have got to get back to the election day scenario. The military, we just celebrated the 80th anniversary of D-Day and so forth. We don't honor the military if we don't participate in the rights that they've gone to the battlefield to protect. And we don't honor God if we sit out and don't participate in the rights that he's given us, voting, etc., all of it. There's no honor given to the military or to God Almighty if we sit out and give up on the rights that he has given us and that the military has gone to the battlefield to defend. All right, at the call line, 901-316-8404, 901-316-8404. It looks like we have Steve in Missouri. Steve, welcome to the right side.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's what Elvis said. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I was just watching the show and wanted to know how I could share this information with people that need to hear it. Email out a link or make sure we can understand how to spread this word that you're spreading out there. So, because I'm watching it, I'm really liking what I'm hearing. So I want to share it with as many people as possible. How could I share better?
Thanks, Steve. Well, listen, I tell you what, we're working on a phenomenal new website, DougBillings.us. DougBillings.us, ladies and gentlemen. It's being revamped as we speak. And I think if we look to Hump Day this week, if we look to Wednesday, that it should be launched fully. You might check in. Maybe it'll be up a little bit early on Tuesday. We'll check. But DougBillings.us is where you can go and support me and this program and share it. Primarily, of course, we're on worldviewtube.com. We're on Spreely TV. You can share all of those platforms. But as far as specifically supporting me and the show, DougBillings.us, my website. You can see it there on the bottom of the screen. Just jot that down and head over there during the next couple of days and have some patience with me. We have an excellent team of folks rebuilding it and rebranding it to a degree. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Share it. Share the programs. Copy the links. Get on worldviewtube.com. Get on Spreely TV. Get on my website. Social media platforms, huge. If you're out there on Facebook, YouTube, we're broadcasting live right now on all of them. X, we're on Spreely TV, Facebook, Locals, Rumble, YouTube, and I think that about does it. So just share all of those links, Steve. I appreciate your call.
Thank you for letting me know where I can find more information. I'll get this shared with my people that I love and care about because we got to save our country.
Amen, brother. We're all in this together. I appreciate you. God bless you.
God bless you.
So, see, there's an example. Someone who hears the message, wants to engage, wants to know how. Thank you, Steve from Missouri. Appreciate that very much. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, 901-316-8404. Feel free to give us a call. We can talk about, what we've talked about. If you were listening earlier with General Flynn and Eric Trump, what's in your neighborhood? How are you noticing? And what are you noticing? The changes in the Republic, the changes in the demeanor. Is your circle of influence activated? Are they involved? Are they getting involved? Because I'll tell you, this whole thing about Election Day, it's a big deal. We cannot have election month, and we cannot have a radical left lunatic fringe that would provide a platform for the LGBTQ kook community, which is nothing more than a coalition of immorality, and abandoning God's promise for the Republic and for this world, quite frankly. We have got to begin to draw God back into the picture. John Adams, remember John Adams, founding father, second president of the United States, famously said that our republic is designed and meant to be governed by a religious and moral people. Without that, it's wholly insufficient. Won't work. A religious and moral people. The radical left is a coalition of immorality, excommunicating God. They don't want to talk about Christianity. They don't want to talk about worship of God of any kind. The state is your God. You should not be dependent upon anything other than the state. And they have given us entitlement after entitlement after entitlement. FDR, probably the dam really broke open with him. And they want to lure you in. And it's nothing more than a new form of slavery. Slavery to the state, dependency upon the state. Conservatives, I'm telling you, you go look at the diaries of the founding fathers, read their speeches that they gave in public, read the Federalist Papers. Every one of the founding fathers, even the most liberal of them, wanted Christianity, the study of God, the Bible, theology, philosophy, arithmetic, the arts, civics, Latin. They wanted it in the public school curriculum. And we have people that would try to convince us that the opposite is actually true. Stand up and be counted. Let your voice be heard. Don't be afraid. We should not be. We see the radical left imploding. And in a lot of ways, what they're doing to Trump is two things. One, obviously, to take him out of the race. They want nothing more to do than that. They want to take him out. But their actions, what they're doing, really represents their death pangs. They realize that they are in trouble. They realize they're losing the favor of the American people. And we will do everything we can on this show to voice the truth so that you know the truth. And we'll do everything we can, God willing, to continue to do it, not only up into and through the election in November, but beyond. Because as I said earlier, obviously we're after 2024 with President Trump. But we have got to try to encourage President Trump to choose a vice president who can be the standard bearer, young enough to not only be viable in 2028, but in 2032. This is the long game, folks. We give ourselves, really, I think, the permission, the blessing of four virtues. The virtue of wisdom with a capital W. Wisdom from the Holy Spirit. Seek wisdom and understand the landscape. What's going on, really? Listen to this program. Let the Holy Spirit reveal wisdom to you. Then you reflect. We don't react like the radical left does. We reflect on what wisdom teaches us. And then we take action. Peaceful action. That's our trademark. And then finally, and maybe most importantly, we gift ourselves with the virtue of patience. This will not be solved overnight. But it's not going to take 126 years either. We're going to get through this. And there might be more nightmare to cascade down upon us. But we will get through this eventually. America is not on her deathbed. America is in a nightmare. And because of you, determined patriots out there, she is rising up and she will be fine. You subscribe to wherever you're watching this program, subscribe and get notifications of when the show comes on. We're on every day, Monday through Friday, 5 to 6:30 Central Time. WorldviewTube.com is where the program is launched and produced. You'll also be able to see it on my website, DougBillings.us. And we will work through this together. America is not on her deathbed, ladies and gentlemen. I assure you of that. And it's because of you. Don't be discouraged. Don't be dissuaded. Stand firm in what the founders have given us. Ladies and gentlemen, also reminding you to go over to liveyoungerwithdoug.us. Liveyoungerwithdoug.us. Until next time, until tomorrow. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
twc.health/Brandon. This is one of our sponsors, has been now for a few years. Here it is. You just go there. If you use that URL, folks, you not only save money, but our program gets credit, which helps us keep doing great shows like this for free and pushing them out. twc.health/Brandon. Look up here at the top of the page where it says Med Kits. Go down there to the one that says Contagion Emergency Kit. Contagion Emergency Kit. That's the one you want, right, Dr. McCullough?
Right. That's going to cover bird flu. Just you start on day one. I think all the animal workers, people in rural areas need to have these. You can't wait around for the pharmacist. If you start early, that comes with telemedicine. We can